Have you ever thought about creating your own makeup line? Or maybe thinking, what if I did this? Or interested in starting any type of product manufacturing? This is really interesting because we've got Chrissy Marriner of Sweet Minerals on. She's a founding partner and also I believe it's the director of technology, right, Chrissy? Yep, director of technology. She's creating a new way of building a direct sales company. I'm really excited to introduce you to Chrissy. If you haven't met her in a past YFE chat, she was pretty active in our Twitter chats last year, and so some of you will be seeing her in person for the first time, or I guess in person in quotation marks. So it's a really fun show. Make sure you stay through the entire 30 minutes and use the hashtag YFE chat to connect with us on Twitter. Hi everyone, this is Jennifer Dono. I'm the host of Young Female Entrepreneurs, the weekly live show that happens every Thursday night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern here at yfe.me/join live. So if you are watching live, make sure that you introduce yourself in the chat. If this is your first time, it's totally cool. Introduce yourself, tell us who you are and what your business is all about, maybe even where you're located. I see a couple regulars in the chat, so I'm really excited to connect with you all. This is episode 52 of the YFE Chat live show, and it's sponsored by Ovaline TV. Ovaline TV hosts and produces live video events built to meet your objective. Visit ovaline.tv to request a free 30-minute consultation today to find out more about going live with your brand. And by MailChimp. Got my announcer voice on. MailChimp is a new sponsor to the Young Female Entrepreneurs live show. MailChimp supports more than 2.5 million email subscribers worldwide, sending 4 billion messages per month. MailChimp is designed for the do-it-yourself power user, someone looking for all the power of an enterprise application, but built for anyone to use. So again, this is episode 52. We've got Chrissy Marriner, one of the founding partners of Sweet Minerals. It's a makeup line that's a direct sales company. So she's got reps across the country selling her makeup line that she formulated out of her kitchen, on her kitchen counter. Really crazy cool story that I'm excited to share with all of you. So we'll be welcoming her in just minutes. But before we do, I wanted to go over a couple things. First of all, the people that are in the chat, thank you so much for chatting it up. Directly following this at 6:30, make sure that you stay tuned because we've got a Twitter chat after party. And so what we do for that, it's about 30 minutes on the hashtag YFE chat. And tonight's is a special edition because since we have Chrissy on from Sweet Minerals, what she's been doing is giving basically amazing women across the country, like I was saying, these business opportunities through her company, and that's a way of growing her brand. And so she's got one of her sales representatives on at our after party, and her sales representative is going to be joined by her husband. So it's going to be a husband-wife team. We've never done that on YFE. So I'm crazy excited to introduce both of them to you at 6:30 tonight. So they're going to be the host of the after party. Right now on our Twitter handle, if you reach out to YF Entrepreneur, we've got Stacey Harris of Hit the Mic Marketing. Shout out to her. She is amazing. Adore Stacey. She's drinking Chateau Saint Michel Riesling tonight, she said in the chat, which is actually my neck of the woods. So hi to Stacey. Now, before I welcome Chrissy on, I love the YFE community because of how creative you guys are. So Chrissy is a perfect example of this. She's talking about social selling, and she's going to tell us what that means and why she's implementing that within her company. But apart from Chrissy, a number of you have reached out to me via email with ideas like, can I do this? Can I do that? One of them is Profession Gal, right, at Twitter. Can you find her lower third? Yeah, Megan. So let me make sure. Yeah, at Profession Gal. Tweet out to her and say, hey, Megan, how's it going? So she reached out to me and asked if she could do a segment. And I've done a couple meetings with her. Megan's super sweet. I found her, first of all, on Twitter and then connected with her blog. Her blog is at professiongal.com in case you're listening to the audio version of this. So she recorded a segment that if you came a little bit early, you got to watch. It's about 15 minutes, and we'll put it up on our YouTube page so you guys can see it in its entirety. But I'm going to go ahead and let her talk a little bit about what this segment is and who her first guest is.
Hey YFers, Profession Gal here, kicking off the first of my new segment called Overtime with Lime, where I'll be sipping adult beverages with female entrepreneurs as they wind down from their day. And basically, I'll be spouting out fast fire questions that have more to do with their work lifestyle than work itself, because, you know, that's just way more fun. So to start it off, we are going to all grab our cocktails and listen in to an interview that I had with Emily Bennington online as my dog barks in the background. So just to show you an example of busy working girl lifestyle, even in an interview, we've got the dog interrupting. And I'm sure you have been in that situation before too. So without any further delay, let's get started. Today's guest is Emily Bennington. She is a career expert, speaker, entrepreneur, and author. In fact, she has a book that's now out that I am currently reviewing, and I can't wait to post on my blog. And it's called Who Says It's a Man's World? Because who really does say that? I mean, we're like over it. Did we get a good shot of the book?
Looks good.
Good. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit these fast fire questions. I've got 10 for you, Emily, and you're just going to answer as quickly as possible, and we'll find out a lot about you.
All right, bring it on.
Okay, let's go. So first question is, moving for a boy, recommend it or end it?
Well, I know why you're asking me that question, Megan.
Yes.
I actually had the opposite situation. I did not move for a boy. So I was planning to move to New York City, had everything lined out, had an apartment and had roommates, had everything. And then met a guy. And it was honestly one of the most excruciating, painful decisions that I've ever had to make in my whole life. But I ended up choosing the guy. And that boyfriend later became my husband, later became the father of our 2 boys. And so we got married 10 years ago, actually 10 years ago in March. So
let's get a round of applause. 10 years, that's huge. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So it worked out, but I definitely don't want to recommend that as a strategy for everyone. And, you know, for anyone who is in this situation and trying to evaluate what to do, one of the things that I recommend is that you really ask yourself whether the person that you're with makes you feel like the best version of you. Because if you're with somebody who doesn't make you feel like the best version of you, then you are with the wrong person, my dear, and it is not worth a move.
All right, so that was Megan and her first ever segment with YFE. Thank you so much, Megan, at Profession Gal, for providing us with that awesome topic to discuss, because really that's an interesting thing to think about. Would you move for a guy? So Megan explores a number of other topics with the author, and so we'll have that YouTube video out for you guys to check out in its entirety. If you're watching it on YouTube, it's in an annotation somewhere in this video. All right, so without further ado, let's welcome our guest of honor onto the show tonight. And I should say welcome before, hold on, don't introduce Chrissy yet. Chrissy. All right, so I should say guy or girl. Corey, so guy or girl. Would you move for a guy or girl? So anyway, Chrissy Gray Marriner is a 31-year-old Maryland native who is self-trained, makeup formulator, and social media lover, and she was born into a family of entrepreneurs. She's currently the director of formulation and technology for Sweet Minerals. While the products are no longer being formulated in her kitchen, she still oversees the production of new products for the Sweet Minerals line. So without further ado, Chrissy, welcome onto the YFE Live Show. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thanks, Jen.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk a little bit about this. I mentioned it, that the product line was initially created on your kitchen counter. So can you tell us about the background of Sweet Minerals and how it got to this point where it's this direct sales company enabling a lot of women around, or a number of women around the U.S. to provide some form of income to their families? How did it get to that point?
Absolutely. Well, I could probably talk for 2 hours on that because so many different things happened. But yes, it did get started in my house. It actually got started on my lap. I would sit on the floor and mix and then it moved up to my bathroom counter, and then it got even bigger than that and moved into my kitchen. So that's how it got started. I started it as a hobby. I never intended to go into the makeup business at all. I'm a tomboy. I've always been involved in business stuff. I've always been interested in business and starting businesses, and I had a stamp business and all kinds of businesses. Now I'd be into the beauty industry, but it started out of a health issue. So you can find anything on the internet. So I began formulating, and that quickly turned in from a hobby to a business. So I had my own brand. It was called Baby Skin Mineral Cosmetics. And when you start a business, you have to have a niche. So my niche was the bee it was a bee like a pregnant belly. So it was shaped like a woman, and it was supposed to be mineral makeup for moms to be, safe, natural mineral makeup for moms. But that was a mistake. And I quickly learned at my first trade show is that I had all my signs, I had all the packaging, I had everything ready. There were women walking down the aisles, and they were steering away from my table. And I thought, what in the world is going on? Well, they were convinced that the makeup it had some sort of fertility aid in it. It somehow made them pregnant. So you'd hear like, I don't want to be pregnant, or I've had too many kids. And I wanted to say, no, it's makeup. So that's how that started. The marketing changed after that first show, and it was still Baby Skin Mineral Cosmetics, but it went to the tagline of all natural mineral cosmetics. So I did that. I started that in 2007. This was in Texas. I kept formulating. I moved back to Maryland, which is my home state. In 2010, I think it was in December, I kept creating recipes. And in Texas, I had started some home parties, and I had actually come up to Maryland for a summer, and I did the local county fair. I did very fair. I did some home parties up here. I went back to Texas, and I really, really liked the home party setting, and that's how I wanted to grow my business. Actually, from the beginning, I wanted partners. I actually picked my best friend and a girl I worked with. I'm like, you girls are going to be my partners. Well, you cannot do that. But I knew I wanted partners. So that didn't happen. I moved back to Maryland, and literally it was December, and I told my mom, I said, you know what? I think I'm going to close up Baby Skin. I'm just going to sell everything, and I'm going to help somebody else get started. I already know how to do the packaging. I already know how to do the branding. I know how to do the websites. I know how to source it all, mix it all. I'm going to help somebody else get started. Within a week, and I was completely calm and fine with that decision. It was not stressful. It was like it was meant to be. Within a week, I went to a bar and was watching a Ravens game, and I met Heather Linz, and we were sitting next to each other. Heather actually went to school with my boyfriend, and my boyfriend had been telling me, hey, you got to meet Heather. She's a makeup artist. And I'm like, oh, okay, I know lots of makeup artists. Thanks, that's great. And so anyway, I don't know where my boyfriend went. He went somewhere, and we're sitting next to each other, and she's like, oh, what do you do? And I said, well, I'm a makeup formulator. What do you do? And she's like, I'm a makeup artist. She Facebook stalked me. No, she really didn't. But she found me on Facebook. Within a week, we set up an appointment. I didn't know what to expect. She didn't know what to expect. I think she had some plans because there's a backstory into that. But Candace Maurer, Heather Linz, and I met at a local Chicago Uno in Ellicott City, Maryland, and we basically walked away and got married on the first date. We all went into the meeting without expectations. I brought some makeup, and I also brought some eggs because I have some chickens. So I brought eggs for everybody and some makeup to sample out, and we walked away partners. And so this was in January of 2011. We completely rebranded everything. Actually, let me back up a little bit. The backstory of Heather and Candace is that Heather and Candace are both licensed estheticians. Heather is a makeup artist, and Candace had her own salon and spa distribution company, and she was selling skincare to salons and spas. They were looking to pick up a mineral makeup brand, and they kept going from brand to brand and testing them, and they didn't like them. So they had decided to make their own brand. They didn't know how they were going to do it, but that was the latest thought. And then they met me, and it was meant to be. So that's how that partnership got started.
Okay, so I really love that story because you were about to give up and then suddenly you were at a bar and then it just kind of like all worked out. So one of the things that we brought up today was the the makers. I don't know how to best point this out to you guys, but Makers is a co-working space in the Seattle area, and they're featured on our action calendar. But today they said "keep on keeping on" is what they needed to hear today, apparently, and so. I really like that because it really it resonated with your story, I felt. So that the idea that when you feel like you're about to give up, just keep moving forward because you never know what's going to happen. So as far as that goes, and the idea that the universe all kind of came together for you and you were sitting next to your partners that were going to help you move this product line forward, what advice would you give to a woman who's about at that point where they're just like, I can't do this anymore. I'm not making any money. I'm super frustrated and my vision is coming, like basically falling to pieces. What would be your advice to them?
Are there? Looks like my internet connection. Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you go. We can hear you. You're a little frozen.
Okay, that was weird. That's a good question. Everything, and I've talked to my partners about this several times. We actually have another partner right now, and that's Shelly Smith, and that actually came later. But let me get back to that question. Is that everything we have done, all individually and together, it was never forced. It was never stressful. You just have to follow your gut. I mean, with anything in life, you have to, whatever you feel is supposed to happen, you can't go against that. So, I mean, in business and in life in general. So I think that's the best advice I can give on that.
No, that's great. Now, as far as the partnership goes, can you expand a little bit on that? And I know a number of young women that are interested in bringing in partnership, whether it's for financial reasons, that they need some form of equity share with to get some money in, some capital, some cash flow. But there's also the idea of the knowledge. So you brought in estheticians, people that knew the beauty industry, that they knew how to sell, that they knew where the customers' minds were. What happened as far as that initial meeting? Did you talk about the equity in the company? Did you talk about what they needed to bring, what expectations, and what kind of advice would you give to a young woman who's interested in doing that?
Well, I think we did it. I would not suggest to do it how we did it. Again, we went with our gut. We all trusted each other. We didn't know each other at all. I mean, I knew nothing about them, but we sat there for probably 3 to 4 hours, and you can really get a feeling from somebody. So I think somebody had gone to the bathroom and we came back and said, well, partners? And we're like, yeah, partners. So we didn't talk about the details of the partnership at that meeting. But as far as partnerships go, it really depends what your business is. I knew originally with Baby Skin that I wanted to do direct sales. When we started Sweet Minerals, we didn't start as direct sales. We were going to start salons. We were going to do website. We had like 5 different avenues. We did a kiosk at a mall. We were going to throw up everything on the wall and we were going to see what stuck, basically. So that's what we did. With this business, there's so many aspects to it. So I knew initially that I wanted partners because you can't do everything. You need to bring in partners, whether it's partners in your business or outside partners, people that you talk to, advisors, stuff like that. I guess it really just depends on the business. If it's a simple business, then go at it alone. If you want partners and you feel that you should have partners, you should look for them. Okay,
so you've been mentioning direct sales a few times in this interview. What is direct sales? And really, why did you decide to take your company in that route rather than doing the salon or doing the e-commerce piece?
Well, we formed our partnership in January. We had our first, we launched, actually we called it a pre-launch because we didn't even think we were ready, but we just pushed ourselves to get out there. It was like March, the middle of March. So 2.5 months later, we rebranded everything and we just got out there. We really wanted to push salons and stuff like that. But things change, plans change. Our first event, there were women. It was a 2-day event. It was Saturday and Sunday. we just thought, we just wanted to cover our booth space, but that's not what happened. What happened is that women were coming into our booth, they would have their heads down. They didn't look really happy. We'd be making them up and telling them what we were doing. We were showing that we were giving them an application guide, and they were literally getting up different people. They were smiling, they were excited, and that excitement they were telling other people. And so we had lines around our booth for 2 days. In fact, we had people request for us to come in early on Sunday so that we can do their makeup. We came in 2 hours early, and there was a line. I mean, people waiting. So we didn't expect that. We didn't expect to build that confidence, and that confidence in that personal touch. It's one-on-one versus selling through distribution channels and stuff like that. So we really did like that. Another thing is that we were benched next to one of our now partners, Shelly Smith. She was 2 booths away from us selling candles. We did not notice her at first because we were so busy. We were literally just trying to fill orders, make makeup. We weren't paying attention to anybody around us, but she tells us that she was watching and she was fascinated the whole time. She's been involved in direct selling. She's in a direct sales candle company, and she's been involved in direct selling since the 80s. And so what happened was she has 2 teenage daughters. She sat one of her daughters in our chair, and we made her face up, and then we sat the other one in our chair and made her face up. And then they had like a funny look. They were all smiling, and we said, "What's going on? Okay, what's going on?" Well, the one girl, and I'm not going to say what company, but she's like, "Mom, now I can't sell blank." And it's another direct sales company, and they do sell makeup. And we just cracked up. So Shelly said, "Are you guys set up for direct sales?" And we said, "No, but check back with us in November." I have no idea why we said November. I don't know. I have no idea.
But don't a lot of us do that?
What was that?
A lot of us do that. Like, oh, well, I'll launch that product in this date. Sure.
Yeah, who picks that date? I mean, unless maybe it's being put on the spot. Maybe it's putting a goal out there.
Yeah. So did you do it in November, or is that just kind of like a?
No. Okay. So this is March. We're saying check back with us in November because in our minds, it's going to take 6 months to write a direct sales manual. We ended up not selling. We at every show we went to, we would collect email addresses and we put it into MailChimp. Love MailChimp. And she emailed back in July and she said, "Your card has been sitting on my desk and I have been meaning to contact you." So we said, okay. And then I don't even know what we were thinking. It was so funny. It's so funny looking back now, but it's just part of it. Anyway, we ended up signing her daughters up as the first 2 consultants. And this is in July, I think it was July or August. They were our first 2 consultants. We opened up a kiosk in a local mall in September. I think it was September 1st, and that was a disaster. So we pulled out of the mall the end of November, and Shelly contacted us at the same time that we had been talking. We need to contact Shelly. We need her to come in and help us write a direct sales program. So we were both thinking the same thing. And early December, I think it was, is that I went over Shelly's house. I was there for 7 hours, and we were writing down plans and everything. So this is the beginning of December. Literally in January of 2011, we launched our first direct sales opportunity meeting, and we call it a sweet social now. We used to call it a sweet meet. That was January of 2011. We just had our 1-year anniversary in January of 2000. No, wow. This is January of 2012. I'm sorry. We launched our product in January of 2011. We launched our direct sales January of 2012, and we just celebrated our 1-year anniversary January of 2013.
Well, happy anniversary. So a few things here. First of all, before I get into the next question, the first thing I want to say is that I think the biggest lesson learned here, and all of you guys on the chat need to chime in on this one, but for me personally in my own business, the last 2 days, my parents are my partners, and I know, Chrissy, you come from a very long line of family entrepreneurs, so you might relate to this, but I was talking to my mom and saying, looking back at what's happened to getting us to this point, I read the book Bethany Frankel's A Place of Yes, and that's a book I recommend to all young female entrepreneurs to read. I read it on Audible, and so I'd go on my walk and I'd be like, yes, I totally understand where you're coming from, Bethany. But anyway, she said, all roads lead to Rome. And looking back on my past, I'm just like, okay, it was obvious how I got to this point. It's amazing when you look at it and you're like, why on earth did this happen? But now that you're here at this point, you're just like, okay, this all had to happen in order so that I could be there. And it's just, you have to have faith in your concept. You have to have faith in what you're doing and in yourself. And so I love your story because that it affirms what I'm feeling. And I bet a lot of you in the chat can relate to that. But so since I don't want to abandon this idea on partnerships before we go to the concept of social selling because we're running out of time. But when you're talking to a partner, I want to make sure and like to get this totally clear out of you. So Shelly had the direct sales experience, which you guys were lacking. Did you go to her and say, we'll welcome you into our company and in exchange for a percentage of ownership? Or did you,
that is a good question.
There some kind of thing where you had to pay her, that type of a thing?
Did you have more to add to that?
Go ahead.
No, okay, so no, we did not. We weren't going to offer her ownership at all. She was going to be a consultant for us and getting paid commission. Similarly to, with direct sales, you have different tiers of commissions and stuff. She was going to be getting paid on that. So the business she brought in. What ended up happening is that we all put together, but she really was the direct. She was the person behind the direct sales. She knew how it worked, the ins and outs, how to write commission structures, stuff like that. So she put that all together, and we would have these weekly meetings, and we ended up talking. She joined us as a partner. It was July 1st of this past year, because we all talked. We were forming an LLC. We were changing our status. It was a sole proprietorship, then it was a general partnership, and we were forming an LLC. We decided she's been a partner with us since we started, and even though we launched in January of 2011, our business now, it's direct sales, and it's not sales without Shelly. So she wasn't an employee or a contractor, she was a partner, and so we approached her with that. And I think that's a great point. I think she was pretty shocked.
I think that's a great point for all of us to take away, because it wasn't perfect. Like, you didn't have I see this all the time on my Facebook newsfeed of all of the YFEs that are involved with our city hubs. But the thing that they say is, okay, I have to get this specific paperwork filled, or I have to get the right partners from the very beginning. And you've really evolved. You've learned things, you've tried things, failed at things, and it wasn't something that you just had to have perfect right away. You just made sure that you were out there getting feedback, making things happen. And I think that's something that we can all take away from it. Just get out there and do. Now, before we end, you've talked about social selling, direct sales. The first time I've really heard about the idea of direct sales, of course I've known about it since I was little, like the different companies that are out there, but really what it is as a business model was from Tori of Utoria.com. I don't know if you've met her at a YFE chat. She is a 16-year-old that wanted to revolutionize the idea of how young women can make money that are in high school. And so in that way, I love the idea of direct sales, because you're giving stay-at-home moms an opportunity to be with their kids and work part-time. And you're giving high school students the opportunity. I just think that's amazing that you're doing that, and you're still helping build your brand in a nice way. But can you talk to us about what social selling is and how Sweet Minerals is different from like your competitors or other makeup direct sales companies out there?
Okay, so social selling is we have our own definition of it. Social selling is selling, in the traditional sense, it's selling through social media, which you can't put an ROI on that. It's relationship. So it's social media. However, with direct sales is selling person to person. Either we call our the way we're structured a party plan. So basically you go to somebody's house and you do a party for a lot of people, and that's how you sell. Social selling in that sense is person to person, whether it is in somebody's house. It's also touching them over the internet. I mean, now things are totally different than they were 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Now we're seeing most of our consultants come from either in-person events that we're meeting them at, or they're coming from online. They're coming from all over the country, and that's how we're socially touching them. It's, Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, it's constant. So social selling is very unique. It's evolving every day. There's new social media websites every single day. Some of them take off, some of them don't, but you got to try them, because everything is in relationships, and so that's really the basis behind our motto. It's relationship selling.
Relationship selling. And one of the things that I think is great about you is that you are teaching these women how to use social media. You're giving them the tools and giving them the freedom to do that. You're teaching them what Twitter is, what a hashtag is, how to use the different online mediums, which, the average person, we as business owners, I feel like sometimes take advantage of the fact that we know some of these things. Like my girlfriends that are in college, that I went to college with, when I Skype with them, they barely know how to use Skype, and they're doctorates. They're people that have,
right.
crazy.
It's mainly the business owners that do that. So when you meet somebody, you're like, what? You don't Twitter. What are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. So I think
you're not
that's
on Facebook.
Right. Exactly.
I met somebody today that wasn't on Facebook, and she's starting a business. I'm like, you have got to get on Facebook. I can't believe you're not on Facebook. But yeah, business has completely changed. But yes, we teach. When they join, they get an email, and we say, get on Facebook, add us as a friend. We tag them in photos. We do different stuff that other companies don't necessarily do. We text. We do, group text, individual text. The consultants text me. I text them. They're texting people that came to their party, and that doesn't happen necessarily with you don't go to a salon and buy something and then you're texting the person that sold it to you.
Well, okay, so Chrissy, we have one of your sales reps on that's going to be on our YFE chat after party. Can you tell us a little bit about her and her husband and why you recommended that they be on our after party?
They're amazing. They're like the cutest couple ever. I was Skyping with them at midnight last night. They are out in Kansas, and we met them. The funny thing is that they are in the military, and they were in Northern Virginia, but they met us out there from one of our other consultants that she was in Fort Meade, and her husband got transferred in June, so she moved out to Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. And that is our team leader, Tracy Snyder. Tracy, I believe, met Kelly Henderson. That's who you're going to talk to at an event or a home party. I'm not really sure how they met, but they're dynamic. And Kelly and her husband has a little technology company. It's called Dust Jacket Tech. You should find him on Twitter. He's also on Facebook. They're very helpful. They're very adorable. They're just the perfect team.
Yeah, I got to Skype with them earlier, and I just thought this is so cool, especially because we have a number of military wives that listen to our YFE podcast, and I was just like, okay, this is going to be a lot of fun to hear their perspective. So we're going to welcome them in on our after party. If you guys are still on the chat, make sure that you stay tuned, because we're going to go ahead and say goodbye to Chrissy in just a second, so don't leave yet, Chrissy. Okay. But so stay tuned for the after party with them. We're going to be on the hashtag YFE chat, and there you can interact with us. Stacey Harris of Hit the Mic Marketing is going to be on, and she's going to be giving us some awesome questions that we're going to all dive into. But Chrissy's sales rep, Kelly, is going to be talking about her experience with Sweet Minerals, answering your questions, talking about your tweets. So you're definitely going to be featured if you use the hashtag YFE chat. So Chrissy, where can everyone find you online?
You can find us at sweetminerals.com. We are also at facebook.com/sweetminerals. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter, and it's at Sweet Minerals. You can find me personally on Twitter at Sweet Marriner. That's Marriner.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. I really appreciate it, Chrissy, because you have an interesting storyline. It's very different from a lot of people, and I appreciate your honesty and candidness, and that there was failures that happened, there was things that you tried, but the fact is, what I want everyone to take away from, and what I took away from personally, you guys can have different takeaways, but this is what I think we should all have, like a joint takeaway, is to try stuff and to have faith in what your idea was, what your bigger vision is, and keep going. Would you agree, Chrissy?
Just do it.
Just do it. I like it.
You got to start tonight. Stay up late, write your basic business plan, and start a Facebook page and do it.
I love it.
Easy.
I love it. Thank you so much for being on the show, Chrissy. I hope we'll stay in touch. We'll have to have you back on later. All right, everyone. So we've been watching Chrissy Gray Marriner of SweetMinerals.com. Wasn't she fantastic? I love her story. I love what they're trying to build there at Sweet Minerals. Well, not trying. What they are building at SweetMinerals.com. Make sure that you follow her on Twitter. She's very active on there, and she's full of great information. Very creative person, too, which I always appreciate. So if you're watching live right now, stay for our after party and participate in Twitter. This is one of the ways I get to. It's been a long day. One of the things I was thinking about looking at her videos was the fact that I need Sweet Minerals makeup. It would be really great on video, right? Her videos were gorgeous. And so the idea that you could like minimize all of the craziness. The Flawless Face, I think, is what the video tutorial was called. I'll have to have the links in the video or in our blog post with this. Anyway, stay tuned for the after party. Make sure that you show up next Thursday. We've got Brittany Castro. She's down in Los Angeles. She's a financial advisor. She's going to be on and talking to us about how to get more money, how to save money, how to be financially conscious, how to be a young female entrepreneur in YFE. In March, we have seriously the craziest lineup of young women. We're featuring awesome young women every Thursday night, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern. And thank you all so much for coming tonight. Stay for the after party. Subscribe to us on YouTube, subscribe to us on iTunes, and make sure that you leave a comment too if you're checking us out on iTunes. All right, this has been Jennifer Dono. I'm the host of Young Female Entrepreneurs. I'll see you next Thursday.